We give thanks for that time of quiet, that time of stilling the mind, that time of listening, that time of really connecting and giving our attention to that presence, that higher self within us, that is us. Amen. And then during this month of December, I took the liberty of modifying the UWM Statement of Peace. The reason I modified it was, it says things like war, not peace, and I wanted to just make it positive. So I'd like us to say this after meditation for this month. We, the people of Unity of the Villages, join Unity Worldwide Ministries in its stand for peace. Unity stands for peace. Unity stands for love. Unity stands for forgiveness. We call ourselves higher up in consciousness to be that positive change right here, right now. Our prayer is for self-realization, God's realization. Together from our divine essence, we command all nations, their leaders and their people, to turn to God by whatever they aim, for guidance to pursue peace, for this is what honors the God of all faith traditions. Unity stands for peace in our lifetime. Amen. And our prayer for our permanent spiritual home. We give thanks for the manifestation of our permanent spiritual home that is free in the year 2015. We are grateful for the knowing of this truth, and we say thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. I think we're missing a row of lights that probably might need to be on, so our musicians can see.
I used to think that I could not go on, and life was nothing but an awful song. But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting love. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every dying day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. See, I was on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes silence can seem so loud, but there are miracles in life I must embrace. But first I know it starts inside of me. Oh, I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe can fly, 'cause I believe in you. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. I spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly.
I'd say she nailed that one. Yeah, excellent. Beautiful playing as well. Thank you, Hector. Yeah. So I want to thank people who helped out in this ministry this week. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Nancy Lopez for the Healing Circle. Donna Fraley, who conducted the Christmas caroling. Pat Bennett, who always helps with the sandwich board posters and recording of all our generous donations. Thank you. All the Food for Thought people that helped. The chaplains for preparing a delightful Christmas Eve service. We spent some time on that this week. It's going to be great. And thank you all for helping one another. You know, we've got quite a few people in need right now, and it's very heartwarming to just see people step up and help each other in spiritual community. Thank you. And let's see, Gregory Geist, it will be a meaningful experience. I sat through it in wherever we were, Santa Fe in June. And it's really, I hope you can come and bring your friends because it's a great experience. Good Karma Kitchen, we're really not getting the volunteers that we need to. So starting next year, I'm laying down the law. And you know how we do the alphabet thing? If it's your Sunday to bring a snack or some food, it's your Sunday to either set up or clean up. Okay, thank you. Yeah. And we're going to restudy the 4 agreements. So we're going to have that small group ministry book study. So if you would like to facilitate a group, how it works is you decide on the time, the place, the day, and you can always have it here in a room as it's available. Just check with Rosemary. And then as you tell us you're willing to facilitate or co-facilitate, sometimes people go together and they facilitate in alternate weeks, we'll make up the sign-ups and then people can sign up in the next couple weeks. All right. The joke today comes from Rick Hall. You know, he was sick, so he had some time to look up some good ones. Find some good ones. All right, and so here it is. It's a blonde joke. I know. What are you going to do? Blonde lady motorist. She was about 2 hours away from San Diego, and she was flagged down by a man whose truck had broken down. So she says to him, he says to her, "Are you going to San Diego?" She said, "Yeah. Do you need a lift?" She says, "Not for me. I'm going to spend the next 3 hours fixing my truck. My problem is I've got these 2 chimpanzees in the back, and they have to be taken to the San Diego Zoo. They're a bit stressed out already, so I don't want to keep them on the road all day long. Could you possibly take them to the zoo for me? I'll give you $100 for your cover." She says, "I'd be happy to." So the 2 chimpanzees, they're ushered to the back seat of the blonde's car and carefully strapped into their seatbelts. And off they go. And then about 5 hours later, the truck driver's driving through the heart of San Diego when suddenly he's horrified. He sees the blonde lady walking down the street, holding hands with the 2 chimps, much to the amusement of the big crowd. With a screech on his brakes, he pulls over the road, runs over to the blonde and says, "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "I gave you $100 to take these chimpanzees to the zoo." She says, "Yes, I know, but we had money left over and now we're going to the SeaWorld." So the title of this message is called Pause to Peace. And out of your little Advent books, I hope everybody took one of these. If you weren't here last week, they're on that back table. And there's really some nice readings in here. So on that first slide, this woman, Annie Ness, has a very nice definition of peace. Peace is the process of elimination of all doubt and fear from my conscious thinking. I actively experience peace in my world. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Peace is the process of elimination of all doubt and fear from my conscious thinking. I actively experience peace in my world. Yeah, I really like that a lot. And of course, Tana had to, she does all those things. Isn't that great? Yeah. Okay. So what I want to spend a little time on today is, as we think about peace, is we talked a little bit one other time about Dr. David Hawkins and his sort of his map of human consciousness. And so what happened with his life is he experienced several life-altering events. And then following each event, what he noticed was his state of consciousness changed. That he was no longer so much ego-based as he was more in an overwhelming state of bliss with a steady connection to that presence. And so with each dramatic shift in his consciousness, he decided to pursue the reason that this was happening. And he decided to pursue it so that it could be of help to all humanity. And so what he did, and it's all documented in his book, Power versus Force, power being real truth, real power, and force being falsehood. And so what he did was, and we're gonna just show a couple slides, and we're just gonna start at the bottom, I believe. Well, is that the bottom? Okay. That's the bottom. You didn't put like the 50, 20 on there?
Well,
I'm sorry?
There are two.
Okay, can we see if there's one that has less than this? Yeah, right there, great. Tana's mind doesn't, it's not the logical left, it's like, it's there, but, Okay, so, this is at the very, so his scale is on a 1 to 1,000 scale. And so these are things on the very bottom of the scale. I think in one of our classes we talked about how shame was like the bottom. And so what you noticed here is on a scale of 1 to 1,000, that shame and guilt and apathy or despair, they really keep us down. Anybody ever experience shame or guilt or despair or blame or humiliation? And it's hard to move, it's actually hard to move through that, isn't it? It's hard to get motion through that. And so then the next set, terrific, okay. Then the next set is we're moving up into regret, anxiety. So there's some movement of energy, craving, grief, fear, desire. So we're moving up the scale, but we're still at force or levels of falsehood. And then as we keep moving up the scale, we have hate and aggression and scorn and inflation. And so why I wanted to show these lower levels is I feel like when we look at kind of what we're faced with now in the world, there's movement, there's aggression, and there's hate. So to me, it's sort of like we can use that term chemicalization for what's happening. Because there is movement up the scale. No longer are people not in motion, they're actually in motion with a cause. And so there is movement. Okay, and then the next, as we go up, well, we're not sure where that's going to be. Okay, there you go, I think, okay, here we go. And so then 200, 250, 310, there's courage, there's neutrality, there's willingness, optimism, trust, affirmation. So we keep moving up. And then there's, on higher levels, forgiveness, understanding, reverence. Love is at 500. reason, acceptance. Enlightenment is 700 to 1,000. That's where Buddha and Jesus, the avatars, the monks reside. Peace, you notice, is 600. That's our candle today. Peace, 600. Bliss, joy is 540. So joy is above love, which is interesting. I think is that it, Tana? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. We got there. We got there in any kind of order. We got there. All right. So, one of the things he says about these different levels of consciousness is that we all go through these levels of consciousness. They're hard on us, and we learn from them, don't we? Yeah. And we probably wouldn't learn if everything in life was easy. And he says in Power versus Force that most of humanity resides at the 200 level. And if you're interested in doing this, you can go on a couple different websites, and they give you actually how to calibrate your own level of vibration. So that could be interesting. Yeah. And just some other things that I think are kind of fun. George Harrison's music vibrates at 540. I thought that was kind of cool. And there's an interesting note on the Bible. Let's see where that one is. The Bible is, if you got to take out a few books. The whole Bible calibrates at 475, but when you exclude all the books of the Old Testament except Genesis, Psalms, and Proverbs, and you take out Revelations in the New Testament, then the Bible calibrates at 740. I guess that's why we like quoting the New Testament instead of the Old. Now, on a website I noticed somewhere during the week that there's a lot of free chants you can listen to this week. And those of you that like chanting, Om Namah Shivaya, that vibrates at 630. So can you imagine if you're at your house and you just have that on in the background, that's going to pick up your vibration. Shanti Shanti, 650, and then Om Mani Padme Mam. Anybody like that one? Yeah, I like that one too. That vibrates at 700, and the Ring Veda, which Thomas and the Buddhists do, that vibrates at 700. So that's kind of interesting. So the point of this is, he says, a good amount of the music today calibrates at levels below 200. So we might want to think about what we're listening to. Most movies will weaken people who watch them by bringing their energy levels down below the 200 level consciousness. I knew Joni was going to elbow Steve. I know it. Okay, then. Now, here's the great part about this. One individual at level 300, so if you're vibrating on a level 300, counterbalances 90,000 individuals below level 200. And of course, he has a whole bunch, One individual at 400 counterbalances 400,000 people. Okay, so Richard Rohr and I were on the same wavelength this morning, because when I read his meditation for today, he's talking about these developmental stages. And he says Jesus was very aware of these developmental stages. He talks about 4 different kinds of soil in Matthew 13, and in Mark 4 and Luke 8, how each received the same seed differently. So if you have any time, that'd be good to go read those things, huh? Okay, and then, so the whole point of this is with spiral dynamics, Claire Graves was the originator of those. What they're saying here, both of these systems, is that history itself keeps evolving as the individual does, doesn't it? Yeah. And so it's a tool for discerning, and it's also a tool for having faith and compassion about different cultures. I shared with you once before, I was reading that book about that little girl that wrote a book, and she went to school in Iraq for 2 hours a day, and she found out in 1995 that the world was not flat. And so it was just a real aha as to, what if you're not educated, and what if you are in this little village, in this little country, you don't know anything about the world, how can you evolve? How can you move forward? How can you progress? And so I think what we have to do is have a lot of compassion for what we see, behaviors that we see that we would call erroneous. So you all know what I'm referring to. And so Richard Rohr says sometimes we have to do wholly affirming and wholly denying, because we know as a society we're taking 3 steps forward and 2 back. All right. And then just as a reminder about the Crusades. You know, the Crusades in the 11th century to the 13th century, under Pope Urban II, they were to recapture the Holy Land from Muslims. And just like the Muslims, the Crusaders believed in promised an absolution from sin and eternal glory. And not very of them made it. Not very many of them made it. Only 1 out of 20 Crusaders lived. And during that time, when the population was 300 million, 1.7 million people were killed in the crusade in Christ's name. And so this is just a reminder that Christianity, like Islam, both faiths have the capacity to be exploited by extremists, don't they? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all of this for what? Oh, I do want to say one more thing, and that is, so, you know, one of the things we can't do is we can't give up, and we can't, we have to decide how we're going to be affected. So I love what the Course in Miracles says about peace. Peace is impossible to those who look on war. That's enough, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And now you know, we have so much news that comes on, and you know, don't you kind of feel sorry for the reporters? Don't you think the reporters are going like, I don't want to spend my day doing this, reporting on this shooting or that thing? So the Course says, peace is impossible to those who look on war. Peace is inevitable. Peace is inevitable to those who offer peace. How easily then is your judgment of the world escaped? It is not the world that makes peace seem impossible. It is the world you see that makes it impossible. So here's the question for today. How do we stay in a high vibration so we are not looking at war? Because if we are looking at war, we're lowering our vibration. Like they said, the music and the movies bring us right down below that 200. So that means we're not really helping conscious evolution. So I'm asking you now, I want to know what is your plan? You know, it's almost an oxymoron that it's Advent, where we're supposed to take time to prepare for the rebirth of that Christ consciousness in us. And it's Christmas, which is so materialistic now, and where so many people have so many social engagements and parties and it's like, are we even going to take the time? You know? And the other thing that I found interesting this morning is, you know, traditionally the Catholics celebrate hope, and we changed it to peace. Unity did, and it's almost like we are hoping for peace now. You know, we have to faithfully affirm it. But I want to know, you know, as you have suggestions, I know prayer and meditation, that is everybody's that. But how are we going to stay in a high vibration? You know, when the episode happened this week, I heard about it on the phone, and I thought, I'm not tuning in, and I didn't. I like watching some kind of little news at night just to tune in, but I thought, I'm not doing it today, because I don't want to lower my vibration. You know? So I think even if we, thank you, even if we have to tune into it, it's like, what, is 5 minutes enough? Because don't you get the gist of it in 5 minutes? You know, do you want to keep it on, and do you want to keep it rolling in the background? Yeah. Anne Marie.
Probably over 10 years ago now.
Is that on?
Oh, I made a decision, and it was probably over 10 years ago, not to watch the news.
Yeah.
I don't want to feed my brain with that negativity over and over, and I don't watch any news at all.
Give it to Howard.
Are you going to do something?
Just one thing.
We got the course people.
Talking about reporters, the last atrocity that happened, one of the reporters said, now everybody, every community can be fearful that something like this can happen.
Yeah.
Spreading it out and spreading the idea of fear from the one community to all of them. So they want sensationalism. The reporters
Yeah,
are really
absolutely.
terrible about that.
Let me just say something between Howie. You know, when the healer, Chris Macklin, was here, he said, you know, if you really do not fear death, you will not die.
Right.
He said the gun will, you know, stop or not work. And remember that happened at one of the recent, yeah, go ahead, Howie.
My thought is not overly poetic, but you know, if you love everybody, now that seems impractical, but if today, just stay with today, everyone you see, no, you don't want to turn them away, you can do it with a smile, and genuinely do it, and that will transfer, and that will transform. I think that's just love.
Good. And we know that that vibration is 500. Anybody else? You know, plans for how you're going to take quiet time and really tune in.
Well, I think prayer is important, and staying in prayer throughout the day, turning off the TV. One of the things that I decided to do this year is on my Christmas cards, I've decided to write that the greatest gift that we could receive is world peace, and let us be the change now.